it's the most obese country in the world. 70% of Americans are either obese or overweight. So yeah, that's our main market and where we're spending most of our time.
Paul, thanks so much for coming on. We're super excited to have you. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, well, thanks, John. It's a pleasure to be here with you. Sure. So, I'm a co-founder of Calocurb, which is a natural GLP-1 activator, a supplement that's born from out of New Zealand government research. About me, my background's coming more from a business side, come from finance and accounting type background, but really my experience has taken me all over the world. I studied sustainable energy development in Ecuador. I was actually born in Canada, but grew up in New Zealand. I spent 10 years in the UK, so I have repatriated to the UK as well. So I'm a true Commonwealth citizen with 3 passports, and have worked in all kinds of industries, from SMEs to listed FTSE 250 companies. So yeah, that's all of that background and experience has brought me through decade and a half to join my co-founder at Calocurb, and together we've grown this company since we launched in end of 2021, start of 2022. Yeah, so that's a bit about my background and how we got started into Calocurb. But founding a company that's been my life for the last 4 years. So it's been quite a ride.
Yeah, that's awesome. Tell me a little bit about how you guys started again. You got a $20 million government funded for research, or for what?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, we are extremely grateful for the foresight, really, from our Ministry of Business Innovation and Employment. They set about trying to incentivize research to tackle the obesity problem in New Zealand, which is, significant. It's not just.
Is it more than America?
No, it's on par. 42% is the obesity rate in America. We're about 38.5.
Wow.
What really got the attention of the government, and I'm talking back in 2010, was the rate of growth of obesity rates in adolescents and children. So
yeah,
so that's a global thing too. But point is, it's not just a state's problem. So they set about trying to incentivize research to tackle this, and so there was it was called a Foods for Appetite Control program, and the good people at the Institute for Plant and Food Research, New Zealand, which is our largest publicly funded or government-owned research institute, they put a proposal together and they obtained $20 million worth of government funding to just straight research. And that's typically how primary research works in New Zealand. So it's government funded. The employees are essentially government employees. So we're the benefactors of that. 6 years later, and I can unpick how that came about. But 6 years later, they discovered an extract. Then there was clinical trials to validate efficacy, and then some commercialization. And that's where my business partner and I stepped in after some market testing, actually. So yeah, it's we're super grateful, and what amazing foresight by the New Zealand government to try and tackle this. And we're also, that's quite a unique position for a natural supplement, or we prefer to use the word nutraceutical, because we've really come through the pharmaceutical sort of process or route to bring a product to market. It's very unusual for a new ingredient, or a new novel ingredient or natural supplement to have that amount of body of work behind it before it's even on the market. But that's That's Calocurb, or almarasate is our active ingredient that the technology that was discovered. It's patented. This is novel. It is groundbreaking.
Hmm. What's your elevator pitch for this product? Quick to tell it what it is as an elevator pitch.
Yeah, sure. So we are the first patented natural GLP-1 activator, and it does this very simply by triggering bitter taste receptors in the gut to release natural GLP-1 as well as CCK, PYY, other appetite regulating hormones that dial down that food noise. It makes you feel fuller, faster, and for longer. So you eat 18% less, you're 30% less hungry, and you're craving food 40% less, and all
Mm,
naturally.
yeah, that's awesome. Is this mostly for adults, is what you're saying? But you said you try to target obesity in kids too.
Yeah, so unlike other natural supplements in the US, obviously the US, to sell a supplement, you don't have to get FDA approval before you sell. But because we're backed by the New Zealand government, we pay the New Zealand government a royalty, and they're also a small shareholder, equity shareholder.
Mm,
We don't make any claims that we cannot substantiate through human clinical trials, and that's also very rare, especially in the US. Uh, so for that reason, we're certainly not marketing as a appetite suppressant or weight management tool for adolescents or children. Having said that, I can tell you that uh, since we've been selling to practitioners in the States, they are telling us their feedback is, look, we know we've read your science, we know what's happening in the body. It's a hops extract essentially. We're comfortable giving this to adolescents, and they are doing that and seeing great results. We've got some great testimonials from practitioners in the US on that basis that are telling us that their adolescent patients are managing their appetite, managing their hunger, and feeling far more confident and autonomous, in their decision making. So it's giving them, real benefit.
yeah. Is your main market's America, right?
Yeah, that's correct. We launched in America in February 22 after our really groundbreaking study that proved mode of action and showed that we increased GLP-1 by 600% over baseline. That paper was published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition in January 22. So that kind of unlocked a launch in earnest in the US. So we launched in February, and we're seeing 90+% of our growth in the US. I mean, New Zealand's New Zealand's tiny. We of course have been selling here for a little bit longer, and it's our home market. But the US is where our focus is. That's where the GLP-1 um, medication craze has really taken hold. It's the most obese country in the world. 70% of Americans are either obese or overweight. So yeah,
Mm,
our main market, and where we're spending most of our time. I'm up in the US a lot, visiting and attending practitioner conferences to get in front of both medical doctors and alternative practitioners to talk them through this new discovery, this new product that is really revolutionary. I mean, it's very similar to the medications, but obviously natural and without some of the side effects and risks. So yeah, the US is our main focus. Having said that, we're still selling in New Zealand and growing. We sell into Australia from New Zealand. We have dipped our toes into China a little bit, just cross border, and we have recently partnered with sort of piloting a telehealth partnership with a company in the UK, Newman. Um, yeah, we hope to get Canadian registration. We submitted about a year ago, so that's next on the list. We already have distributor that is across North America. So as soon as we get Canadian registration, we'll sell into Canada as well. and we do have TGA approval, the Therapeutic Goods Administration. That's the Australian regulatory body. We do have approval to sell into Australia, but for now we're just through lack of resources, really. We're such a lean team, we can't launch there in earnest. So we're focusing on the US.
Yeah, that's awesome. So this is a business. Is this something that you saw, wow, this is going to be really profitable? So I'm going to go into this as like, this is a great money making system, good margin, something like that. Or you seem obviously very passionate about it, and it's great to be passionate and make a lot of money. But what was your initial goal going into this? Why'd you choose this as your business?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I guess I was describing my background before. I've always been drawn to intrinsically valuable or intrinsically positive outcome industries. So that's why I went and retrained into sustainable energy development. And then prior to that, I had a background in finance. So that, the objective there was to fund renewable energy project. This is a little while ago when that was still relatively a new type of industry, believe it or not. And then I guess I was on my own health journey. So I came a bit of a biohacker, is a term that's thrown around quite often these days. But yeah, I was kind of a biohacker on living in the UK on my own health journey. I started meditating, started doing breath work, started hot cold therapy, just obviously working out, trying to stay fit and healthy. I was doing ultra marathons and wanting to look after my body as best as possible, looking into nootropics, and all the while, a good friend of mine, which is sort of my link to Calocurb, a good friend of mine and college buddy, was working at the Institute for Plant and Food Research New Zealand, and his role. So a little bit about that institute. I mentioned it's a wholly government-funded research institute, but it's for profit. So they're trying to commercialize discoveries, and then they reinvest those profits from that commercialization back into science. So there's two halves to it. There's straight scientists, and then there's a commercial arm. So he was in the commercial arm. His role was to find commercial partners or somehow monetize the discoveries that the scientists were making. And so I knew he was working on this hops extract, which was shutting down hunger. And he lost 12 kilos. This is N of one. He started testing it before clinical trials were out there. It's hops. It's very safe. So I was very interested in that, and COVID happened. I moved back to New Zealand and sort of invigorated that idea that, man, I want to get involved in something that has a positive externality for people. So I got really interested in the company at that point, and just so happened that my business partner Sarah was looking to spin the company out from a supplement company that she was the CEO of. So, in other words, starting the company under its own two feet. So I invested and from there got more and more involved. So initially I was an investor looking to lend a hand and help grow the company. And the more and more as time went on, I saw how much value I could add to the business with my experience complementing Sarah's. So that's sort of how it got started. Yeah, and a mutual friend and colleague who Sarah had worked for. His name is Brendan Verker. I'll drop his name in there because he doesn't often get talked about. But when I think back,
good shout out.
Yeah, shout out to Brendan. He spun out another couple of nutraceutical companies using the same, using technology that's from plant and food research too. So he's a true entrepreneur as well.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Let's talk a little bit about business. What's your guys' main demographic? I would assume American overweight, but it sounds like you actually do direct, and I'll let you explain on this, but it sounds like you go directly to the practitioner, and that's your um, client.
Yeah, so it's a bit that's there's a few nuances in there, and our position has changed over time, really. Our shared vision is ultimately that um, Calocurb is our modern human antidote to the sea of calories that we live in. So we never evolved in abundance. We've evolved from scarcity. So we are simply ill-equipped um, to exist where we have access to calories that to such an extent that they can kill us, and that's what we're doing. The number one, the number one, obesity is the number one non-communicable disease in the world. We're literally eating ourselves to death, and I think I will come back to target consumers, but this is important. Like, I think that the GLP-1 receptor agonist, the GLP-1 medication revolution that's sort of happening right now has really changed the narrative around why we are eating ourselves to death. It's not just a matter of willpower. It's biochemistry. Our brains have been evolved. They're structured in such a way that we consume as much as we can of calorie dense, we're driven to consume that and store it because we're expecting scarcity at any time. And that's just not the case. So it's like an evolutionary adaptation that we see Calocurb as an evolutionary adaptation. We're never going to change the structure of our brain. This is very primal, this drive to overconsume. So we're modernizing the way humans consume. If you're lucky enough to be in a developed country where you have access to calories at your fingertips, we're products of our own success, and it's causing us just metabolic catastrophe. There's I mentioned the stat, 70% of Americans and Kiwis, British people, Australians are either overweight or obese. So that's sort of that contextualizes our longer term vision for Calocurb. This will be like a daily supplement, just like your multivitamin or whatever you're taking to help you get through the day without being driven by food noise, by this compelling urge to overeat. So that's the number one feedback we get from customers. It just turns down the food noise. It dials down that food noise. Doesn't make you repulsed by food. It just helps you make better food choices. I describe it as it makes eating choices rational. So I'm not having an internal dialogue with myself when I see a cake or a donut. I'm a big foodie. I have a sweet tooth. But I used to have this internal dialogue with myself that I just no longer have. I've been taking daily Calocurb now for coming up 4 years, and snacking's like a thing of the past. I don't require it, and often we don't. It's habitual or it's emotive. It's driven by other things. So it just cuts that out. You can still enjoy those foods. Just it's a conscious decision now. So from that point of view, our customer is any modern human, any modern human that is experiencing hunger that wishes they had less of that. That's a long-winded way of saying that's almost anyone. Having said that, we know that we're in a GLP-1 receptor agonist, craze right now. Obesity is a big problem. Like I said, it's the number one non-communicable disease right now. So that we can't be seen to be treating a disease as a natural supplement, but we can certainly help people who are heading there. we've shown that if you take regular Calocurb, you will eat 18% less food. That's almost 1 day in 5 that you would just cut out calories.
Oh yeah.
Subconsciously, and without feeling like you're missing out, you feel as satiated and as full and satisfied as you would otherwise. You're just eating 20% less, almost 20% less. So obesity related applications is the first customer or audience that we're tackling, and there's a bit more in how we got to talking to practitioners that I'd love to get into, but I'll flag that by saying ultimately the Novo Nordisk and Eli Lilly who have started this revolution of GLP-1, they've created a problem actually, because these drugs are so effective, but people will come off them and then they're regaining their weight. So now actually our number one positioning in the US is as a post-injection maintenance, forever supplement, so that they lose their weight on the medications. The Eli and Novo have done such a good job of convincing the American public that these drugs are what they need. They really do work. That's true. You'll lose weight. It may not be all the right weight. There'll be some muscle wastage in there, but once you've done that, you really don't want to regain that weight. And so that's where Calocurb can really help, because we're boosting the endogenous hormones again. So that's our main positioning right now. And like I described before, our tomorrow customer, beyond obesity, it's any modern human with experiencing hunger.
Yeah. Are you so it sounds like you're targeting solution-based clients versus problem-based clients, people that already know what GLP-1 is and are looking for the best or the best version of GLP-1, or do you typically try to market to people that have a problem, which is obesity, and they want to solve that? How are you doing your marketing for your sales?
Yeah. Again, it's nuanced, because in the States, in the practitioner space is heavily segmented, right? So zooming out, you've got allopathic practitioners or medical doctors. These people can prescribe drugs. Then there's another half of practitioners that are alternative practitioners. These are your chiropractors, your acupuncturists, naturopaths, dietitians, everything down to masseuse, So there's quite a different positioning for both of these. So your allopathics that are writing the drugs, they're not used to supplements at all, or nutraceuticals. They're used to writing scripts. And these are the doctors, these are the MDs that are writing all of these scripts for the drugs, either one-on-one in their practice or via telehealth or something like that. There needs to be a medical doctor that's signing off on those scripts. So from their point of view, and when we're talking to those practitioners, we are the post-injection solution, because they are seeing, I think the average term on either branded or off-branded semaglutide or tirzepatide, these GLP-1 receptor agonist drugs, is only around 3 months. And that's due to cost, side effects, longer-term risks, a myriad of reasons, or they've met their goal weight. I mean, they work, but then they need to come off, and their medical doctor, their practitioner, is responsible for the ongoing health of their patients. So they are seeking something that will stop that weight regain, keep them in a healthy weight range, at least BMI. So yeah, our positioning there is post-injection. All of the alternative practitioners, they can't write the scripts, right? So they're seeing this huge GLP-1 craze going on. And these are the practitioners that have been typically recommending things like berberine or other GLP-1 activating supplements. that, quite frankly, do nothing. So
Really?
from marketing to those practitioners, we are an alternative because we activate GLP-1 to a level that is needed to induce a behavioral change that's greater than 300 or 400%. We increase GLP-1 to 600%. We also do the same for CCK, which is another potent appetite regulating hormone, and to a lesser extent PYY, which is a longer lasting and more difficult hormone to induce. We get that to about 300%. So these are significant changes in the levels of hormones that are required to induce behavioral change. So these alternative practitioners are using us as an alternative because they can't prescribe the medications.
What I do want to get into is talk to us. So your sale goal is you're selling to practitioners. Now, do you sell in bulk to practitioners, or are you wholesaling things? Do you have an e-com website where people go onto your website and buy directly? Or I think I remember when we talked before, it was Amazon. And so the practitioners direct you to Amazon. Now the practitioner is getting a cut. Do you have to pay for that? Lots to talk about, but wherever you want to start.
Yeah, sure. No, that's there is a lot in that.
Well, I'll start off with a better question. That way we're not jumping around. So, your main client is practitioners. Do you wholesale to practitioners? They buy like 100 bottles?
Yeah, we sell by the case to practitioners through e-commerce. We started as an e-commerce business, and we continue that. So we have a wholesale channel where practitioners can register an account and purchase wholesale from us. And typically, again, that's the alternative practitioners that do that.
Right.
So that distinction between allopathic and alternative is quite important, because not medical doctors or allopathics, they don't stock supplements. They're not used to doing that. They write scripts.
They write prescriptions. Yeah.
So they recommend. They talk to their patients and recommend us, and that's why we're seeing real strong crossover.
Well, how do you get them to recommend you? Do you give them incentive, or do they just believe in your product?
Yeah, that's a beautiful thing. No, we're just explaining our science to them and showing what we do, and they're compelled to maintain the health of their patients. So they want healthy outcomes.
Yes. So they get paid by the patient to give them the best option, give the patient the best option, and they'll keep coming to the practitioner. Yeah,
it's a great business model from that point.
That is.
We're not incentivizing. I mean, we offer that, to be fair. We say, hey, look, because there's no restrictions for us to try and incentivize them, and we do. We have I guess it's like an affiliate code. We can say, we want your patients buying from you, so you can register an affiliate code and get them to get 10% off, which is the only discounting that we'd provide. But the fact is that almost none of the allopathic doctors take us up on that. They just want health outcomes. So they're recommending to their patients, and so we're seeing real strong halo effect into our consumer channels.
So with that prescription writing doctor, the one that does the prescription writing, how do you get the attraction of those for? Because again, for like education purposes, so how do you get that kind of a client? Do you go do sales meetings where a bunch of these doctors come in one place and you kind of give your pitch? Along with other pharmaceutical companies, how do you actually get attention to them? Do you reach out, cold email? Do you call them up and say, hey, I got a supplement that would really help your clients? What kind of stuff do you do?
Yeah, sure. Good question. So in the US, there's trade shows, or they call them conferences. But they're, from our perspective, it's a trade show. We're there in a booth, presenting our product to these people. But they're very well attended. So, because obviously there's continuous medical education, CME, that these people have to, take. They're lectures as well. So we attend those, and we're very fortunate that we can attend them. So we're only able to attend and present our product because of the scientific backing that we already have. So, for example, we attend Obesity Medicine Association. So we're going to the conferences of obesity specialists and saying, this is our product. It can help re-engage those endogenous hormones that the medications have suppressed. And we're the only nutraceutical or supplement at these conferences, and for good reason, because nothing else has the science that we do. And it's quite surreal to be there at these at OMA, Obesity Medicine Association, for example, because Novo Nordisk is front and center. They're spending so much money. It's almost the Novo Nordisk show. Eli Lilly's on the other side. They're market leading in terms of their drug tirzepatide. It's been shown to be more effective. So they're not spending as much money as Novo is. There's two other drugs, Casimia and Contrave, that are FDA approved, and apart from that, it's Calocurb. So we're the only ones there, and we get a lot of attention that way because doctors are looking for something, an alternative or a longer term, a product that can help their patients over the longer term. So we're doing that, and we also attend, many. That's our main, to be honest, our main marketing activity is attending these conferences, getting face to face with practitioners, both allopathic and alternative, because they've all got different angles that they're looking for. But certainly for the allopathics, it's those medical conferences where they learn, and we are new, so it really helps to get in front of them and talk to them.
Yeah. How hard is it to get into one of these conferences to be able to, and then be able to go on stage and talk?
Oh, very. Yeah. You have to submit, evidence as to why you should be included. And like I said, we're extremely grateful. We've got 3 published human clinical studies. In fact, our latest study, which was done in women, measuring hunger and craving scores, we made women fast for 24 hours. And so let me just preface by saying it's very rare that you have clinical studies that are where the cohort is 100% women. That's because women have more hormones than men. So most clinical studies are done on men, especially when there's hormonal, you're measuring hormonal changes in the body. Women have more hormones than men. So they're far more complex from that point of view. So this study took us...
And they fluctuate a lot more throughout
the exactly
month.
through their follicular cycle. So it took us a year and a half to do this study. We had to line up the same day in their menstrual cycle with the same day of the week, because your eating habits change throughout the week. So we had to line up the same day of the menstrual cycle of the month, the same day of the week, and we had to do that 3 times each participant, because it was a crossover study. So we did a high dose, low dose, and placebo. So that took a very long time. It was very expensive, and the results were stunning. So stunning, in fact, that the Journal of the Obesity Medicine Association, Obesity Pillars, took that on and published it in September of last year. So that was our last clinical study to be published. So to answer your question, it's very difficult. And to date, we've attended OMA 4 times, and we're the only supplement or nutraceutical that does so.
Yeah, so it's hard to get into these conferences, but that's where you get the most return on your time.
Yeah, well, that and
is joining a conference. You're like, that is, if I join a conference, I know we're going to get some clients, some sales.
We sign people up to our wholesale site where they can access more written information, protocols, how more direct instruction on how they can advise their patients on taking their product, how it can help them, what it's doing in the body, all of those sorts of things. So yes, absolutely, we see huge spikes in our practitioner registrations, but we've also partnered with FullScript, which is really the market leader for doing the same thing. Our wholesale channel is really just a continuation of their platform, like the Amazon for natural product distribution to practitioners. So that's a key channel for us, and we identified that really early on. As soon as we made the switch to focus on B2B or focus on practitioners, we knew we had to be on that channel. Just like when we started in the consumer channel, we knew we had to be on Amazon. 77% of e-commerce supplement sales go through Amazon. We had to be there. Those conferences are key, but then also, like you say, these both CME talks, continuous medical education lectures, and also non-CME. So there are sponsored speaking events that you can do at these conferences. They're important. Similarly, webinars, which is really a podcast, but with specific, topic or even an agenda. Well, that's a podcast, and podcasts, because practitioners are people too. They listen to these podcasts. So we often see spikes in practitioner registrations after we land a podcast or a podcast is released as well.
Yeah, that's super cool. So with the non-prescription writing doctors, your main goal, because you don't meet those kind of doctors at these events, do you?
Well,
that's only for like board certified doctors and stuff.
No, we do attend those conferences as well.
But the different conferences, so it's like the non-prescription type doctors, different conference.
Exactly. The practitioner space is heavily segmented. So when we're talking to a chiropractor versus an obesity specialist, obviously the way we're messaging is extremely different. I mean, we've broadly talked about the difference between allopathic and alternatives, but even within the alternative practitioners, how we're describing the benefits of Calocurb to a nutritionist varies greatly to an acupuncturist. Believe it or not, acupuncturists are the second largest sellers of supplements behind chiropractors in the US of
acupuncture.
Acupuncture.
Really?
So,
oh, okay.
Yeah. Whereas, if we're talking to nutritionists and dietitians, they scrutinize what we are, how we're working a lot more than, say, a chiropractor would. Chiropractors are looking for patient outcomes, and their specialty or their knowledge base is perhaps not so gut targeted, if you like. So, so we attend all these different segmented practitioner segments, but our messaging is slightly different. That's important.
How hard is it to get into the more natural conferences? Is it the same kind of level of difficulty? You have to post that, we've done our research and stuff, or is it the more holistic side? There's definitely not as much research for a lot of this stuff.
The latter, 100% is pay to play. If you want to purchase a spot, then you can. And to be honest, that's why there's so much pseudoscience out there, or supplements.
Snake oil.
Yeah, that's the beauty and the risk of supplements in the US, is that you don't need FDA approval before you sell. The FDA is the enforcer, the regulator of the Dietary Supplement Health and Education Act. But ultimately, until they tap you on the shoulder, you can sell. So that obviously doesn't apply to us. I've said that before. We because we're backed by the government, we do not make any claims that we can't already substantiate through clinical evidence. That's just not who we are.
Is that a big thing you guys advertise, that we are approved, we are all these things? Is that like a big headliner?
100%.
You guys really push that, or what do you push? Like, what's your landing page first 3 seconds? Above the fold. I looked a little bit in your website, but in your own words, kind of what's the main pitch that you guys have for the first 3 seconds above the fold?
Sure. Well, it depends again if you're a consumer versus practitioner. Consumer, we're trying to communicate what we do. So we're a GLP-1 activator. that's clinically backed. So we're patented. There's very, there's no other patented GLP-1 activators out there. So that's the sale, or the objective there is to communicate exactly what we do. For practitioners, it's more about showing that we have the clinical evidence, and also practitioner testimonials. So their peers talking about us. So we now have practitioners or obesity specialists lecturing in CME lectures about our use in clinical practice completely organically. We're not paying these people. They can't be paid for, and they can't actually talk about the brand. They talk about our ingredient. But that's the significance of the scientific evidence that we're presenting to these people. So that really moves the needle. They're doing this on their own back and without any financial incentive or reward. They're lecturing their peers about how to get successful outcome by using the ingredient as a post-injection, maintenance dose, or as an alternative, if you like. But I was going to say that actually the move from consumer to practitioner is something that took a little. It was a real learning curve, and that it was difficult. It was quite frustrating at the time, So if I can unpack that for a little bit, because obviously,
do you still do D2C?
Yeah, we do. We start
Through Amazon though.
Through Amazon and through Calocurb.com,
But do you do like ads? Do you run like Meta ads, Google ads?
Minimal. Yes, but really for brand awareness.
Okay.
Yeah. So yes,
they're not converting ads. They're more just, your name.
No, it's still important to get those touch points out there. I think it's for. I don't quote me on where I got this reference, but I think it's something like 7 touch points of seeing a brand before there's conversion on average. So that's still important to be seen. If you're just talking to practitioners but no one sees you online, I mean, it's incongruent.
Well, the practitioner is interesting because that's the client of the practitioner is just going to trust whatever the practitioner says most of the time. If they trust the practitioner, they're going to trust what they say. So really, you selling to the practitioner is good. And there's the problem aware versus solution aware client. And so you're really targeting the the solution aware. Like they know GLP-1 is good, or you're educating the practitioner on GLP-1. And so they're the one talking to the problem aware client of, hey, I'm obese, help me lose weight. Practitioners like, boom. Because, typically as the e-commerce space, it's harder to get those solution-aware clients. They're more expensive. They know their stuff. They know what they're talking about. It's definitely more niche and harder to claim those clients. So you definitely got a really interesting method to really just go after straight up the practitioners versus, running ads to the consumer. Because you would probably run them differently, which I'm sure you'll explain on. You probably ran the D2C was very, lose weight in 90 days, lose this much, or lose your craving or something like that. But explain to me your method of changing. Why are you now doing the practitioner, and how much more profit are you getting from that? How much more traffic are you getting from that switch?
Yeah. Yeah. So there's a bit in that, I guess. First of all, I would say you're right. In terms of trust for referrals, it's friends first, friends and family first, then it's medical doctors. But even that, so you're right, but also these days, patients challenge doctors.
Yes.
Patients are armed with not just Google these days, but Gemini and ChatGPT, and they use it. So it's not just as simple as if we sell to the doctor, the patient will take it. They go and check, and they need to, and often the first.
And that's very important. That's true. Yeah.
Yeah. Often the first place they check for an over-the-counter product, because we're not a drug, the first place they check is not Google, it's Amazon. So if you're not on Amazon, they say, what is this thing? So that's
Yeah, you got to
Yeah,
be on Amazon to be like verified, kind of these days.
yeah. But you're right. You're right. It is so expensive as a to run a consumer product these days, especially in the weight management supplement space. That's a super crowded um, category, and it's full of pseudoscience, snake oil, grifters,
Hmm.
and often well-funded ones. I mean, there's one. No, I'm not gonna
Name
name
names.
people name names, but
I gotcha.
they've been served a class action already. But
Yeah.
so yeah, so we as a natural product, we don't have restrictions to sell over the counter. So of course we launched as a consumer product. We launched with our .com site in February 22, I said, and we listed on Amazon. It took a lot longer than 4 months, but in June of 22, it took us about a year and a half actually to register and list on Amazon. Uh, and we thought that, by the way, Wegovy, which is Novo Nordisk's drug, was approved for treatment of obesity in July 21. So we thought that was our roadmap just laid out for us, where that's a GLP-1 agonist. That's a synthetic version of GLP-1. We increased natural GLP-1 to 600% of baseline. That's it. That's all we need to do is ride those coattails of Novo Nordisk. Say, hey, look, we're doing the same thing, but it's natural. It's a 20th of the cost, and and the customers will come. Well, no,
Yeah.
the Novo had spent so much money. They can spend the money because they as a drug company, well, I suppose it does happen quite a bit in the States, but they focus on the consumer. The consumer goes to the doctor and asks for the drug, and they leaned
Right.
heavily into that. Queen Latifah was promoting it. It seemed like every celebrity was talking about it. So I think they spent $1 billion in their first year on advertising. We can't compete with that. So
Well,
even,
yeah. So, how do you ride the coattails? Which is a great method. Letting them do the education, and then you just selling the answer. Let them
yeah,
educate. You sell the answer. Yeah.
and in a way we are, but it just wasn't as easy as we thought it would be, because they've educated the public in both what GLP-1, that's a word that's in people's vernacular, but also it's changed. These medications have changed the perception of weight management and weight loss. So it's now understood that we are the product of our biochemistry. We have hormones, and these hormones really matter. It's not just down to willpower. It's not your fault. It's there's a predisposition to consume and overconsume. So
And
that
what's the
dynamic.
elevator pitch of what is GLP-1?
GLP-1 is a natural hormone that your body produces. It does different things to different parts of the body. Glucagon-like peptide, it's one of many appetite regulating hormones. The body's complicated, but
So
some
basically,
of
just tells you you're full if
it
when you
does
have
several
enough
things.
of it, huh?
It does several things. So it acts on the pancreas and stimulates insulin, which results in blood glucose control. That's why it was first Ozempic is a diabetes treatment, because it influences glucose. It also acts on the stomach to slow down motility, so it slows things down. That's why you feel fuller for longer and you feel satiated. It acts on the brain. It acts on the brain to tell directly. The hormone travels to your brain and acts both on sort of hunger signaling, saying, I'm full, I don't need to eat. It also acts on reward centers in the brain, which is why you see alcoholics and addiction being a possible indication for these drugs. It also acts on the vagus nerve. It does lots of things. I should preface all this by saying I'm not a doctor, but this is, these are things that I've
Not medical
read.
advice. or
non-medical
financial
advice.
advice.
But the elevator pitch, sorry, John, is GLP-1 is one of a few natural hormones that are anti-appetite, just like ghrelin, which is your pro-appetite hormone. We have hormones for everything, and we are the product. Our behavior is largely the product of which hormones we have in our body.
I like that. So let's talk about fulfillment. How do you get your stuff fulfilled?
Like logistics?
Yeah, a little bit of logistics, some e-com. So you get it. Do you guys make it in-house? How big is your team from where you guys are right now?
Yeah, sure. So we're a very lean team. We are still a team of 2 co-founders and external consultants and agencies. So that's enabled a lot of pivoting and changing of direction. We're also extremely fortunate that we have such a wonderful product that it's allowed us to focus solely on it. We're a company of one product, and that simplicity has helped a lot. I mean, it's been a necessity with such a light team, and it's also we're very fortunate that we have such a simple supply chain. So our extract comes from a specific variety of hops, which we grow in New Zealand. It's only grown in New Zealand. We send that extract to the States. We've partnered with the largest capsule manufacturer in the world, Lonza, and they produce our capsule in South Carolina. So we distribute throughout the US. We've partnered with a third-party logistics provider. We're currently with ShipBob, and they handle all of our D2C and B2B logistics. We also ship bulk capsules back to New Zealand, where we bottle and label locally to service the local market here in New Zealand. We're doing cross-border into Australia for now, and we also again just change the packaging really because our into the UK and China, because our product, we have the regulatory ability to sell into those markets. So that's our supply chain. It's very, very simple, very scalable. We're very fortunate. Hops grows like a weed. It's it's a 3-month growth cycle to harvest, and we're scaling it up fast.
Yeah, that's awesome. So yeah, that's a good logistics chain. Do you guys have them kind of send it over to Amazon? And then so it sounds like you have the pills that come to you for New Zealand, and then you capsule them. But a lot of when you get them made in North Carolina, I think you said, do they ship directly from there to Amazon warehouses?
South Carolina.
South Carolina.
No, so that's our bulk product, and we're lucky that our partner also does turnkey packaging. So we used to do that ourselves, but now we ship them our raw ingredient, and they ship us finished product, which is fantastic. And then from ShipBob, we're currently only doing FBA, fulfilled by Amazon, so we ship from ShipBob to Amazon. So we're just taking pallet loads of finished product into our warehouses.
So everything is fulfilled by Amazon. I see you got a Shopify. It's how you have the website set up. Now that does FBA still?
No. So no, ShipBob, which is our third-party logistics provider, they handle our direct-to-consumer shipping through .com. They also ship or resupply Amazon warehouses. They also do our B2B wholesale orders and also our distributor orders. So we have one one logistics partner that's doing all of that for us.
Awesome.
Simplicity is key.
Right. I like that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Any advice you would give to other companies that are kind of in your industry that are looking to be in the pharmaceutical area?
Well, the nutraceutical area, I would say,
Well, I know you're very niche,
yeah.
so
Well, I mean, sorry, you said pharmaceutical. I mean, FDA, to be a pharmaceutical, that's a whole different deal, and we actually
yeah.
looked at that. We actually looked at that. It would be difficult for us and cost a couple of $100 million. So that's not for us right now. Yeah, advice would be, um, well, what's worked for us is actual clinical evidence, scientific evidence. There is, it's so competitive out there, especially in the US, to have reputable key opinion leaders, especially in the field of where you are offering a benefit, solving a problem. That's key to get cut through, because everyone's claiming these things. Even customer testimonials now, you can purchase them. It's and I
What's
think the
true,
consumer,
you know?
yeah, what's true, and
Well, AI these days, you don't even know what videos are true. This is fake right now. I don't even know who this guy is. This is AI generated, you know?
I was going to say we haven't even got to AI, but exactly, I think it's going to be it's it's a extremely exciting time, and but anyway, excluding AI for a second, but yeah, even customer testimonials, they're easily mistrusted. So it's coming down to, I think, really leaders in the segments that you're addressing.
Mm.
That's what's moving the needle, I think. So for us,
Yeah.
it's getting obesity specialists talking about us.
So
That's
that's
how.
your key for driving sales is obesity specialists, like knowing about your product and telling their clients about it. Well, like reviews for Amazon. So when you're on Amazon, do you like rank on Amazon, and do you like focus on that for when they do GLP search in the Amazon bar? You guys like try to do your best to show up on top, or you really just Amazon's just there for literally people to go on when they know your exact company name, if you know what I'm
Yeah,
saying.
yeah, no, you've absolutely nailed it. It's so expensive. It's prohibitively expensive for a company of our size um, to really drive that uh, to win on Amazon when we're faced with much larger, much more well-funded companies backed by Kardashians, for example. So, no, Amazon, we view Amazon as a distribution channel, and we do bare minimum just to maintain our branded search, because all of our spend is off platform, and you can see that in our ROI, or yeah, when we have a webinar that resonates, or a podcast that resonates with an audience, they go to Amazon and they search for us and buy us. So our ROI on ad spend or branded search just goes through the roof. So that's our focus, because that really brings qualified buyers to us. We honestly, we can't afford to try and capture those audiences, those eyeballs on platform, because of the amount of spend it would require for a company as lean as us.
Mm, that's awesome. Well, where can people hear about you? How can we get connected with you? Any questions? People are interested in your product.
Yeah, sure. So calocurb.com is our consumer site. I'm Paul Martin. I'm happy to field emails, paulmartin at calocurb.com. I'm working on an Instagram, a public persona in Instagram, that so I can field more questions and put more content out there. But unfortunately, I don't have it live yet, John. I'm working on that right now. But yeah, email me
Well, I'm
at
assuming it would be your name. So look him up on Instagram. He'll have it ready.
yeah, I'll have it ready. But yeah, it's been a pleasure. Thank you. And if the audience got any questions, I'm happy to field them.
Yeah, yeah. Any questions? Look him up. Paul, he's awesome. Paul, thank you so much for coming on today, and I look forward to seeing more of you soon. Okay.
You bet. We're going to be everywhere, John. Just you wait.
Awesome.
Cheers, John.
God bless, man. Bye.